Hello, and wow, we have Cathy-Mae Karelse and Rhonda Magee, both of the keynote speakers for the 6th Annual Symposium at Birkbeck College on the 27th of July. And I'm so excited to have a moment to check in with you. And with us is also our new director, Reverend Malika, and Tim, one of the organizers. Wow, I'm so excited to actually be part of this. So Cathy-Mae is the author of Disturbing White Mindfulness. And this book has come out this week in paperback. And
Yay.
Rhonda, the inner work of racial justice. Where should we begin?
Please, Rev.
Yeah, I would like to hear about your share that you're going to share at the event on the 27th.
Rhonda, please go ahead.
Yes, well, thank you. Thank you so much. I will be sharing, well, first of all, it's an honor to be with you all. And, you know, what draws me to this circle today and to this engagement together with all of you is this sense that we are, you know, in a time of real sort of embedded, let's say, call for transformation. We're embedded in a world which is changing all around us. And on the one hand, that can sound exciting and invigorating. You know, we're all ready for change. But on the other hand, that can also be very destabilizing. And given the fact that many of us have suffered in many ways, you know, individually, culturally, intergenerationally, collectively, there is a need for deep healing. And so the particular offering that I will share is around resourcing ourselves for this time. The theme of my keynote will be deepening the roots of well-being and really exploring how the practices that many of us are exploring. And I'm going to be sharing some of the particular practices that I draw on and that I offer in support of folks that I work with. But it's really all about recognizing that all of us have some innate wisdom and some, you know, whether we call it original medicine or unique gift, karmic assignment, but we're all here to maximize our ability to catalyze healing for ourselves and healing for those around us in the human and more than human world. Like just connecting all these beautiful life force energies for our highest and best at this time.
And I'd like to support that because I recently had a conversation around we want to give to everyone and look after everyone. And we're not very good at looking after ourselves and loving ourselves and investing in our own well-being. So I think that would beautifully match what you're going to be offering on the day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cathy.
Rev, shall I go?
Yes, bring it on, bring it on.
Thank you. Reverend Malika, when I'm in your company and I see your name, I always am reminded of Miriam Makeba because she has a beautiful song, Malika, which of course means angel. And it's such a beautiful vibration and feeling, that memory. So thank you for your...
You're welcome. I've actually got it as my ringtone on my phone.
Perfect. Perfect. Yes, that is so perfect. And let me echo what Rhonda is saying about the deep gratitude for being here and for being part of this group and for the invitation to be able to share in community what it is that we are all moving through and learning about. So like your wow, William, it's you know, I always used to think of wow as wishing others well. as this acronym for wishing others well. And I think Rev, Malaika, and Rhonda, when we speak about this notion of care and the notion of taking time, it seems we find it very difficult to remember that we are one of the community. And one, we are part of the flock. And whatever we are wishing for others, we of course are wanting to cultivate in ourselves and to understand that those engagements and interactions, that kindness begets kindness, that when we offer kindness and gratitude and love, it actually expands the heart. The very act of that expands the heart.
Yes.
So I'm really interested in bridging, with this idea of belonging. We of course are interested in worlds where everybody has a sense of belonging. And the work of bridging, for many of us, we do it every day, but we also reach a point where the work is challenging and it's difficult, and we need to lean into our communities and be able to step beyond our communities as well. And so I'm looking so forward to bringing some of those stories of bridging and some of the practices of bridging, so that together we are cultivating ways of facing forward together and understanding that we are making worlds. We are the world makers, ways in which we walk this path and this earth. So that will be my my offering, with all the blessings of all the teachers and all the all the family lineages and all the communities. Yes.
Beautiful.
Thank you both. I have a question now for the two of you. So I wonder what your first practice was, going back to childhood to teenage. I'm wondering, the reason I wanted to connect with that, before you became who you are now, and you both done so many different roles and given to so many different communities. But I'm just wondering what the original practice was. And the reason I'm asking that is because we've seen such an escalation in knife crime in the UK to barbaric levels. And there's a lot of people of color who disassociate from these practices that we're here to all share. So I'm wondering what message you would give to some of these young people who will be listening to this conversation and maybe hearing of the issues around belonging and stuff like that. So what was your first practice, and what message would you give to some of these young people who don't know what mindfulness is? And yeah, so Rhonda, would you like to go first?
Yeah, I'm excited about this question because I haven't ever thought about the things that are coming up for me right now in this particular way. So what came up for me were things like holding my older sister's hand, like the feel of her hand, and then also connecting with my younger sister. So the sort of three sisters practice of a kind of being together. As a and feeling each other's support along the way as a daily kind of experience of belonging in a kind of a network. Another thing that came up for me was dancing and moving, even as a tiny toddler. My father really loved American soul music, so James Brown was his favorite. So anytime a new 45 would come, he would bring that in. We danced to that. And then I'll also add prayer. I grew up in a Christian home, and my grandmother had been called to the ministry. So as a little child, prayer, holding hands with the family, and movement and singing, these were all a deep part of my early set of practices.
Yeah. What message would you give now to some of these young people, I guess on both sides of the Atlantic? I mean, I grew up in New York in the 80s, and we knew how the violence in America so what message would you give to young people who don't have a practice?
Well, I think I would point them toward first, just recognizing the things that give them joy and inviting them to connect with others around that. Because I do think in the US we know we have a crisis of feelings of isolation and separation, and the need really to have people experience what it means to be alive together, and the joy of that. So really, I'd remind folks that we're not alone, and that everything that we'll be talking about here is something that's already innately within the scope and reach of what they already carry. We all benefit from being reminded of who we are and what we have within us. You know, the fact that there's no accidents for each of us being on this planet. Mm-hmm. And we can just come together and support people being reminded of who they already are and you know, their magnificence and the experience of joyfully connecting around that together.
Thank you, Rhonda. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Very beautiful. Very beautiful.
Just take a pause and just really absorb that, because it's a reminder of who we are and how precious life is, and the inner gifts that we all carry in the sense of touching and connecting.
Yes.
There's something for me around self, others, and community. And I think those three just really nicely are connecting and coming together is powerful.
Yeah. So Cathy, over to you.
Thank you so much, Will, and thank you for those beautiful words, Rhonda. I was very blessed in that even though I was growing up in apartheid South Africa, I grew up in a home where we learned compassion and respect, not as words, but as what was practiced and the ways in which my parents modeled that as components of justice and social justice. You know, that those were fundamental foundations of this this quest and this, we called it a struggle for freedom. So those memories of learning how to be in community, learning how to respect other people, learning to respect all people, and that being a huge defiance of the apartheid regime that was looking at divide and rule, and so that was very special. The image that came when you asked that question, Will, was one of my uncles was a yoga practitioner, and he used to teach us postures, which we used to do together and like find our way. And of course, as children, you try everything. And so I learned some of the postures that, you know, were a little bit more challenging, and always teach them to other people, because I know it's possible. If I can do it, you can do it. So I've still got that excitement, the joy, as you name it, Rhonda. And there was a lot of that. There was a lot of community, friendships, being together and making joy and being very grateful. So lots of friendship groups, you know, and I want to name that within the context of an awful regime. Yes. So yes, those are early memories, which if I think of that in terms of young people today, you know, my message is so similar to Rhonda's, that we often are out of touch with the power that we have. We have such tremendous power, not only within, but power with one another. It is phenomenally expansive. It's as big as that part of the iceberg that's underneath the tip that shows itself above the water, you know. And we often, when we are navigating this harsh world, at times very harsh world, we tend to focus on the power over. And so our lives become very framed according to just resisting something, and being able to navigate and to find the joy in community, whether we are on a march or whether we are dancing together, that cultivation of our own power, I think, is magnificent, so that we really are able to displace, not transcend, but displace these notions of imposter syndrome, of not being good enough. Those are systems that make us feel that way. But actually the vibrancy and the energetics of all of our life forms and all of our beings are purely magnificent.
Mhm.
I believe that's what we're discovering. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Cathy. So just to pause with that for a moment.
Mm. Mm.
And as you were speaking, Cathy, what stood out for me was something in the human spirit that isn't broken, that despite of the many challenges, unprecedented challenges that we're seeing around the world, actually there is a pull to and a movement to come out of this. So from all of these catastrophes that we're seeing, that sometimes it brings out the best in humanity in some way. So we're yet to see what's ahead of us, and these gatherings on belonging, I think we're seeing them more frequently. You know, the need to connect, the need to come out of isolation, the need to actually be witness, and to also revisit a lot of indigenous systems to bring them back. You know, which is part of the medicine, isn't it? The interwoven,
Yes.
that we all need to be part. The solutions being part of the collective, part of each other. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, Malika, any questions you have?
Just another little nugget, that from sadness can come greatness.
Mhm. Yes.
You know, and sometimes we can experience something terrible or horrendous, and if we have the skills and the capacity, we can then create something amazing out of that. And I think that is really, really powerful.
Absolutely. Thank you for mentioning, Reverend.
No,
Yeah.
you're most welcome.
I'm just wondering if Tim has a question to pose.
Oh, goodness. Nothing like putting.
Will likes to put us on the spot, you know.
Nothing like putting someone on the spot. Is it? What? So what? We've got an exciting symposium coming up on the 27th. What would you like to see as a legacy of that day?
Well, may I start?
Please, Rhonda.
Thank you, my dear. A legacy of the day. Maybe just a kind of a deeply felt. I mean, I have to say, you know, I believe that all change begins in felt experience. You know, feeling ourselves anew is kind of a precursor to any sort of real engagement that is that manifests that transformation. So what I hope it will be a legacy will be a kind of a heart print, if you will, of the feeling of being, you know, in touch with that which is already healed, that perhaps was never wounded. That I think both my dear Cathy-Mae and Will have been pointing to a bit in these reflections. So just to me, if we can remember the day of our gathering, our day of belonging, as a heart print that in a certain sense never ends, then I think, you know, even as we part and go our separate ways, some part of us will remember and will know that as we walk the earth, we have never walked alone and we never will. Every day that we spend on this earth is a shared day in a certain network of connection. And may that day that we spend together experiencing and reflecting on belonging really have the effect of being a kind of a deep resource, a sense of, you know, a root, a spore or root into the sense of well-being that I hope will carry forth for all of us.
Mm.
Lovely.
Thank you so much for that. And I hope every young person, you know, on this planet hears that message, that we are never walking alone.
No.
It's just incredible. Thank you. I'm going to remember that heart print,
Yes.
you know, next time I'm walking out the door.
Yes.
So thank you for that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
And
just
Ron,
pause and just take in this heart print, because I like the sound of that heart print.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, feeling it right now in this circle. Thank you.
thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Cathy, over to you.
Well, let me say that, you know, what you said, Rev Malika, about these emotions that come as a symphony, never alone, that in sadness, greatness. I had this image, Rhonda, of you and your sisters holding hands, and I also was blessed with two sisters. That sense of community kind of ready-made. And when you spoke now again, Rhonda, it's that same image of hand holding, of the fact that even though we think the body ends with the skin, it actually completely does not. It's an optical illusion. And so that has been played, right? We've been a little bit played in thinking that. So in terms of your question about legacy, Tim, and your point about heart print, Rhonda, I think that for me, I always hope that occasions and events like this bring a sense of change and possibility and expansiveness and togetherness and really belonging. You know, I hope that we deliver, and that the imprint that people leave with is that heart imprint of belonging, that there are deep connections, that we are the mycelium, that our connections are not only human to human, but they are vast and expansive beyond that. So this notion of we are never alone, sometimes I think for us, we almost are relearning, we're unlearning and relearning. And the point about the imprint is that we want also the cultivation of the practices and the relationships that really embed that imprint. So it doesn't fade. It doesn't, it continues to grow and evolve. And so that would be my wish, Tim, in response. Yes, that we feel the sense of belonging and that we carry that forward with us. Yes.
Excellent.
Thank you, Cathy.
Thank you, Cathy. So just go around the room and just with some closing statements. Anything? I'll just start with Reverend Malika. And would you like to share anything about maybe your experience of belonging? Because you work with so many different community groups and so much suffering. So
I mean, I am a strong believer that from sorrow and pain can come greatness, and it can be our medicine and it can be our learning. And I recently went to a gospel event in Manchester. It was a woman who was 60 that nearly died of COVID. They thought she was going to die. She was in a coma for months. They were praying over her and everything. And then she celebrated her 60th birthday, and one of the statements was that there's no there's no guarantee on what happens to us when we come. There's just a guarantee of a safe landing, and then it's down to us to make the changes in our lives if we're exposed to the right tools. So yes, Will, I am around a lot of suffering and a lot of pain in within the community where I come from. But then there is this greatness of when those situations can get turned around, and light is shone upon that. Because when that light is shone on that greatness, on that sadness, the results of that can just be electrifying, really, really electrifying. So
oh, that's
I
wonderful.
feel I came into this space this evening very tired, very little sleep last night, a busy day. And I've really left with the nuggets of Rhonda and Cathy, and the energy that I'm so excited to reconnect with you and learn and spread more, whether that's before we get together at the end of July and on the day and afterwards. So thank you.
So as you were speaking, Reverend, I just got this sense of you being one of the custodians of this light that you spoke about. So one of the stewards, of helping people move through these difficult challenges and these terrains. So Tim, what about you? Thank you for your share, Reverend.
Thank you. You're welcome.
I suppose I've been thinking the last day or two about interconnectedness and how what happens to one of us or to someone we know has enormous implications for a vast, well, not a vast number, a large number of other people. There are these ripples that go out from everything that we do, and I think that there has to be something that we are aware of in our own lives and the actions that we take and the things that we do. And you might think, well, I just go and, I don't know, I can't think of an obvious example, but, because I deal with young people who are offenders, you might think, well, one of the young offenders might think, well, I'll just go out and steal a can of Diet Coke from the supermarket. And they the implications of that in terms of the community, individuals, the family, the parents, a whole swathe of people that are affected by that seemingly relatively minor incident. And I think it's something we need to be aware of in our own lives, as I say, of how even the simplest thing that we do can have consequences, good or bad, on so many others. And it's something we just need to keep in mind when we live our lives.
Thank you, Tim. Yeah.
Hear him, as they say. I really want to uplift that because I believe it so deeply. I do think becoming aware, as Cathy-Mae was saying, we all have this power. We all have power. And what I hear and what Tim just shared is a way of thinking about what that power looks like. Every single one of us has the power to affect the quality of our own day and experience, but also in being mindful that there is no small action in the world. Actually, every single action that we take has implications, energetic resonances, ripple effects that are often not seen. But if we can deepen our consciousness, then we can realize that any small action, what might seem like a small action, it really has untold implications. And in being more of a steward of our attention, of the small actions that we take, small to large actions that we take, being mindful of the power that we have, that is how oppression is countered in real time. We can do other things, we can change systems, But if we can also access and reclaim the power, the superpower of our attention and our intentions, then anything's possible.
Oh my gosh, that is like so powerful. So harness the power of our intentions as a means to work through the oppression. Wow. Okay. So I'm looking forward to this day and working through it. It's really, really powerful because it's kind of like, okay, we can work, we can get through this, is what I'm hearing. We can get through this, we can get through this, we can get through this, we can get through everything that's happening in the world. And it really gives me a sense of real hope. Thank you for that medicine.
Yes.
Yeah. So the last one here, Cathy.
Yes, thank you. So I want to expand this notion of power within to speak about love. That I think what we are learning, here together this evening is actually the power and the literacy of love. Because when we live consciously and we live from this heart space, the expansiveness of the heart is beyond measure. And so I wonder if what is happening with us is that we're making this leap in many different ways, in many different forms in the world, where we are relearning the power of love, ability with the power of love to actually transform, transcend, transmute. And I don't mean this as a sentimental love. I mean as a, as a power that, again, we all know, and the wishes for young people is that all of us come to experience just that touch of love so that it infects us, that is what we want to become viral. Yes, so I think this work that we are doing leading up to and at the symposium is really the work of love. And all of us are learning how to articulate and speak about that because it's a very felt and energetic force. But it is something that we can also speak about and be conscious of. Yes.
Yes. Here.
Thank you. So thank you all for your valuable time and just a sense of connecting to all the suffering in the world, but to all the hope also that all of us are energetically putting into the world. So thank you all for all the work that you're doing respectfully. And we look forward to seeing you, Rhonda, in the UK in a few weeks now.
Yes.
And we continue on this path and the work of love really as the solution. Yeah, thank you.
Cannot wait to be with you. Thank you so much.
Same. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you.